There are moments in life we never forget. Not because they are beautiful, but because they carve something out of you, leaving a hollow space where something precious used to live. For me, that moment happened on a gray, quiet Sunday morning in Boston, standing in my small kitchen with rain tapping against the window. The kettle whistled, the toast burned, and my hands trembled as I held the phone that had been silent for too long. Silence has a sound, you know. A weight. Pressure. Especially when it comes from your own child. I stared at the screen. No new messages. It had been 27 days since Lucas called me. Almost a month since I'd heard his voice. A month of questioning everything I ever did as a mother. A month of asking the same question over and over. When did my son stop needing me? I sat down slowly, trying to calm my breathing. Outside, the world kept moving, cars passing, dogs barking, people rushing to brunch with umbrellas in their hands. Inside, I was stuck in a familiar ache. I poured my tea, but my hands were unsteady. Age does that to you, or maybe grief does. I'm 58, but sometimes heartbreak adds decades to your bones. I used to be strong. I used to work 2 jobs, raise a son alone, survive years I thought would crush me. But this silence, this distance, this new invisible wall between Lucas and me, it was the one thing I never prepared for. I tapped the phone again, hoping magically it would light up. No, still nothing. I whispered to the quiet kitchen. Just text me, sweetheart. Anything. A single word. But the silence stayed. It always stayed. The distance hadn't always been this way. Lucas used to call me every night. He used to share everything, with that boyish laugh that always reminded me of his father Sawyer before he died so young. But everything changed when Marissa entered his life. Beautiful, polished, confident Marissa. With a smile that never reached her eyes. With a voice that sounded polite but sharp underneath. With a family that made me feel smaller than I had ever felt in my life. They were the kind of wealthy people who used terms like old money, the kind of people whose tableware cost more than my monthly rent, the kind of people who looked at you and measured your worth before you even spoke. I met them one Thanksgiving, and her mother, Camille Hale, shook my hand with fingertips instead of a palm, as if touching me too fully might contaminate her. Ever since then, Lucas changed. Not suddenly. Not violently. No. Children don't abandon their mothers overnight. They fade away slowly. A little more every day. Starts with a missed call. Then a shorter conversation. Then weeks go by and the phone stays quiet. And the worst part? You keep making excuses for them. He's busy. He's tired. He'll come back. Until one day, you realize you're lying to yourself. That Sunday, after sitting in silence for almost an hour, my phone finally chimed. My heart jumped so violently I almost spilled my tea. Lucas. Finally. But the message was short. Cold. Mom, I'm busy today. I'll try to call later. Try. My son, who once clung to my hand crossing the street, now had to try to speak to me. I typed quickly, my fingers trembling. I miss you, sweetheart. Are you okay? 3 dots appeared. Then vanished. Then reappeared. Then disappeared again. And then nothing. No reply. Tears blurred my vision. I pressed my palm to my chest, feeling that familiar stabbing ache. I told myself not to cry. Crying changes nothing. But grief is stubborn. Before I could wipe my face, the phone buzzed again. Relief washed through me until I saw the name. Not Lucas. Marissa. I hadn't heard from her in months. Her message was icy, sharp enough to cut skin. Evelyn, please stop pressuring Lucas to call constantly. He has his own life now, and the stress is affecting him. We need space. Space. That word hit me like a slap. I stared at her message, heart pounding. My mouth tasted bitter. Pressuring. Constantly. I hadn't called him in a month. I typed, hands shaking. I only asked if he was okay. I haven't called at all. 3 dots. Disappear. Peer. Disappear. Then her reply. Exactly. You wait. You expect. That pressure is unhealthy. Please don't make Lucas feel guilty. Guilty? For what? For being my son? I felt something collapse inside me. I placed the phone down gently, almost ceremonially, like it was something fragile, like my heart. When I get hurt, my mind always goes backward. Back to the little yellow house in Vermont where Lucas grew up. Back to Saturday mornings when he'd run into my room, jumping on the bed shouting, "Breakfast, Mom! Pancake time!" Back to the nights he'd slip into my bed because thunderstorms scared him, his tiny hand gripping mine as lightning flashed outside. Back to the day Sawyer died in that car accident, the moment Lucas collapsed into my arms and whispered, "Don't leave me too, Mom. Please." How can a child who once said that now treat me like this? Sometimes memories feel like blessings. Sometimes they feel like knives. As I sat drowning in those thoughts, a sudden knock startled me. I wiped my face quickly, forced myself to breathe and opened the door. It was Renee, my neighbor of 15 years. She looked at me and immediately frowned. "Evelyn." "Sweetheart, what happened?" I forced a smile. "Nothing. Just a headache." She stepped inside without asking, because real friends never wait for permission to care. She looked around, saw the untouched tea, saw the burnt toast, saw my trembling hands. "Honey, is it Lucas?" Something inside me cracked again. My chin quivered. And suddenly I was trembling, clutching the back of a chair to stay upright. I think I'm losing him, Renee." She wrapped her arms around me tightly, rubbing my back as I shook. "Oh, Evie," she whispered. "Your son loves you. He's just confused. Men get stupid when new women come along. He'll come back." I didn't answer, because for the first time in my life, I wasn't sure. Renee stayed with me until late afternoon making soup, trying to distract me. I appreciated it more than she knew. But when she finally left, the silence returned like an old ghost. I sat at the kitchen table again, staring at the clock ticking on the wall, waiting, hoping. Then, at 8:17 p.m., my phone rang. Lucas. My heart jumped so violently I grabbed the counter for support. I answered immediately. "Lucas? Honey." But the voice on the other end was not gentle, not warm, not my boy. It was cold, icy, distant. "Mom, we need to talk." My stomach dropped. "When Marissa says she needs space," he continued, "you have to respect that." "Lucas, I only sent one message." That message made her cry. Cry. "What?" I whispered. "Lucas, I didn't say anything. You made her feel judged. She said you're always comparing yourself to her." "I never. And you keep hinting that you miss me. That's guilt-tripping." My knees almost gave out. "Lucas," I whispered. "I said I missed you because I haven't heard from you in a month." "Exactly," he said sharply. "Mom, I'm building a new life. My own life. You can't expect me to revolve around you anymore." "Revolve around me?" I covered my mouth with a trembling hand. This wasn't my son talking. This wasn't the boy I raised. This was someone else entirely. Someone who had been coached. Someone who had been turned. "Lucas," I whispered. "Sweetheart, I don't want you to revolve around me. I just want to still matter." Silence. Then he said the most painful sentence I have ever heard. "Mom, maybe it's time you start letting go." Letting go. Letting go of what? My identity? My motherhood? My son? All I managed to whisper was, "Okay," because I felt something inside me collapse completely. "Good," he said, sounding relieved. "I knew you'd understand. But I didn't understand anything." He hung up before I could speak again. People think heartbreak is loud. Screaming, crying, slamming doors. No. Heartbreak is quiet. Heartbreak is a teacup cooling untouched. Heartbreak is a mother sitting alone at her kitchen table, staring at a silent phone. Heartbreak is the realization that your son, the boy you raised alone, the child you sacrificed everything for, has turned his back on you. I sat there for hours. No tears. No screams. Just silence. The kind of silence that swallows every breath. And it was in that suffocating silence I realized something. What happened between Lucas and me didn't start today. It started years ago. I just didn't want to see it. This story, my story, is about the slow unraveling of love. A love that once held my world together. A love that would soon be tested in ways I could never imagine. Because this was only the beginning. Soon everything would get worse. Much worse. And by the time my grandson was born, I would learn the most painful truth of all. Sometimes the people you love the most are the ones who break you the deepest. People assume the worst day of your life hits you all at once, like a blow so sharp it knocks the breath out of you. But that's not how real pain works. Real pain seeps in quietly, unnoticed at first, like water finding cracks in old walls. You don't realize the damage until the entire structure begins to crumble. That week was the beginning of the crumble. I didn't sleep that night. I lay awake staring at the ceiling, the dark room swallowing every breath. The sentence Lucas said kept echoing in my mind like a curse. Maybe it's time you start letting go. Letting go of what? My son? My identity as a mother? The one role in my life I took pride in? At 6 a.m. I made coffee I couldn't drink. At 7 I opened every cupboard, pretending to look for something I didn't need. At 8 I stood at the window and watched people going to work. Children holding lunchboxes, teenagers rushing for the bus, parents yelling last-minute reminders. I watched life happening around me, and I felt completely disconnected. At 9:07 a.m., my phone buzzed with a message. Not from Lucas. Not from Marissa. From my manager at the hotel where I worked part-time. Evelyn, we're short-staffed. Can you cover the 11 a.m. shift? I didn't want to go, but I also didn't want to stay home alone with my thoughts. So I replied, yes, I'll be there. Sometimes work is easier than loneliness. The hotel lobby smelled of lemon polish and expensive perfume, something I never got used to. Wealthy guests dragged wheeled suitcases across the marble floor, talking loudly into Bluetooth earbuds. Their lives seemed so effortless, so full, untouched by the type of heartbreak that kept me awake last night. I stood at the front desk trying to force my mind to focus on scanning IDs, printing room keys, smiling politely. But my hands shook each time I typed. At 11:40 I made a mistake. Overcharged a guest. Normally I never messed up. The woman yelled for the manager, claimed I ruined her anniversary weekend. I apologized a dozen times, but she kept talking over me. My manager, Greg, pulled me aside afterward. Evie, you okay? You're not yourself today. I swallowed hard. My throat burned from holding everything in. I'm fine, I whispered. You don't look fine. I forced a smile. Just tired. He hesitated but let it go. I wasn't tired. I was falling apart quietly. The kind of falling that makes no sound except inside your own chest. At 1:16 p.m., my phone vibrated in my apron pocket. I stepped into the employee hallway and checked it. A number I didn't recognize. For a moment I felt a surge of hope. Maybe Lucas borrowed a different phone. Maybe he was calling to apologize. Hello. I answered quickly. But the voice wasn't Lucas. Is this Evelyn Hart? Yes. This is Officer Raymond Pierce with the Cambridge Police Department. Is now a good time to speak? My heart dropped. My breath caught. Had something happened? Was Lucas hurt? Is my son okay? I asked immediately, panic rising. He's fine, Mrs. Hart, the officer replied. This is about your vehicle. My vehicle? Yes, ma'am. A parking citation from 3 weeks ago. It appears there are outstanding fees. I stared at the wall, confusion twisting through me. Parking citation? My car? I rarely even used it. Officer, I haven't been in Cambridge in months. He cleared his throat. Well, that's strange. The car was ticketed outside Westview Medical Center. My heart froze. That was the hospital where Marissa worked. Wait, I whispered. Can you tell me the time of the citation? 2:14 a.m., Saturday 3 weeks ago. 2:14 a.m. 3 weeks ago. Lucas had told me he and Marissa were out of town that weekend visiting her family in Maine. A road trip they said couldn't include me because it was important for Marissa to bond with her own mom. So why was my car at a hospital in the middle of the night? Something wasn't right. I thanked the officer, promised to settle the fee, and hung up. But a chill spread across my skin. Why would Lucas lie about where they were? Why use my car? Why not his? Unless he didn't want me to know they were at a hospital. A cold thought crept in. Was something wrong with Marissa? If she had been in the hospital at 2 a.m., Lucas would have told me, right? Unless she didn't want him to. Unless she didn't want me to know anything at all. I tried calling Lucas immediately. No answer. I tried again. Straight to voicemail. My hands trembled so violently I could barely grip the phone. Something was going on. Something big. Something they didn't want me to know. And the first lie had just surfaced. When my shift ended, I clocked out early. I was too shaken to work. At home, I opened my mailbox and found a plain white envelope. No return address. Just my name in unfamiliar handwriting. My stomach tightened. I took it inside, sat at the kitchen table and slid it open. Inside was a single printed photo. A photo taken at night. A parking lot. And in the photo, my car, parked crookedly outside a hospital entrance. And standing beside the car, Lucas, with his hands covering his face, looking terrified. Behind him, a nurse pushing Marissa in a wheelchair. She looked pale, weak, sick. The timestamp read, 2:17 a.m., the same night as the ticket. My breath hitched. My son had been at that hospital. Marissa had been at that hospital. Something had happened, and they didn't tell me. Why? Why hide it? Why lie? My hand shook as I flipped the photo over. On the back was a single sentence. You deserve to know the truth. No signature. No explanation. Just that haunting message. My chest tightened painfully. My breathing grew shallow. The truth. What truth? What were they hiding from me? You can't lie to a mother, not completely. She might not know the details, but she feels the shift in the air long before the storm comes. I sat there with the photo in my hands, the room spinning. Lucas didn't call me for nearly a month. Marissa accused me of guilt-tripping him. They told me they were in Maine when they were really at a hospital at 2 a.m. And now a stranger had sent me proof. Something was unraveling. Something they didn't want me near. I whispered into the empty room, voice trembling. Lucas, what are you hiding from me? The rain beat harder against the windows. A distant siren wailed outside. And deep inside my chest, I felt that dangerous motherly certainty. Whatever happened that night was only the beginning. The real heartbreak hadn't even arrived yet. The night I found the photo, I barely slept. Every time I closed my eyes, that timestamp burned behind my eyelids. 2:17 a.m., Westview Medical Center. And the sentence scratched on the back. You deserve to know the truth. The truth. Whatever it was eating its way toward me. By morning my eyes were swollen, my hair matted, my body heavy with dread. I sat at the table staring at the photo again, as if it might suddenly speak. It didn't. But my intuition did. Something was terribly, terribly wrong. I didn't tell myself the usual lies that morning. I didn't whisper, he'll call. I didn't pretend nothing was happening. Instead, I grabbed my keys. For the first time in my life, I decided I wasn't waiting for my son to come to me. I was going to him. I drove across Boston with my heart pounding the entire way. By the time I reached Lucas's condo building, a fancy glass tower Marissa's family helped them buy, I felt a tremor beneath my skin. Not fear. Not anger. Something worse. A sense that whatever I was about to learn would change everything. I pressed the buzzer with trembling fingers. Once. No answer. Twice. Nothing. 3 times. Finally, I heard Marissa's voice through the speaker, sweet, smooth, fake. Yes. This was the same woman who said I guilt-tripped her husband. The same woman who told me he needed space. It's Evelyn, I managed to say. I need to see Lucas. Silence. A long, suffocating silence. Then Marissa replied, her tone cutting. Now isn't a good time. I won't stay long, I whispered. Please. It's important. Another silence. Then a sigh. Lucas isn't here. I closed my eyes. I knew she was lying. A mother always knows. Then at least let me speak with you. No, Evelyn, she snapped. I'm not in the mood for emotional scenes. Emotional scenes. I felt heat rise to my face. Not anger. Humiliation. I'm not here to argue, I whispered. I just want to understand what's happening. Marissa's voice dropped icy. What's happening is that you're making everything harder. I swallowed the lump in my throat. I found a photo, I said quietly, of Lucas and you. At a hospital. 3 weeks ago. Silence. Long enough to confirm it. Then, the buzzer cut off. She hung up on me. There was no mistake now. They were hiding something. I stood outside their building feeling like a fool, like a mother begging for crumbs of truth. Just as I turned to leave, the elevator doors opened and someone stepped out. Mrs. Albright, their next-door neighbor. 80 years old, sharp as a blade, always watching. Her eyes widened when she saw me. Evelyn? Are you okay? I attempted to smile. Just visiting. She frowned. They're not letting you in, are they? My heart stuttered. Why do you say that? She glanced at their door, then leaned in and whispered. I heard them arguing last night. Loud. I've never heard Lucas raise his voice before. My breath froze. What were they arguing about? She hesitated, uncomfortable. I only heard pieces. Something about the baby. The baby? The room blurred for a moment. Baby. I repeated, voice cracking. Yes. I thought you knew. Her face softened. Oh, Evelyn, I'm so sorry. I assumed Lucas told you. He didn't. He hadn't told me anything. And suddenly everything clicked. The hospital. The secrecy. The distance. The coldness. The late-night panic in that photo. Marissa's sudden hostility. My knees felt weak. Are you saying? I whispered. Marissa is pregnant? Mrs. Albright nodded slowly. For almost 3 months now, I think. 3 months. 3 months of silence. 3 months of lies. I pressed my hand to my mouth, trying not to collapse right there in the hallway. My son, the boy I raised alone, the child whose first cry I held in my arms, was going to be a father. And he didn't tell me. Why? Why would he hide something so monumental? What could possibly make a son hide a pregnancy from his mother? Unless Marissa didn't want me involved at all. Unless Marissa didn't want the baby to have anything to do with me. Mrs. Albright kept speaking softly. They rushed to the hospital that night. Marissa was pale, white as a sheet. Lucas looked terrified. I offered to help, but Marissa refused, said her family would take care of everything. Her family. Her rich, polished, cold family. And Lucas. I whispered. He looked trapped. That word hit me harder than any insult. Trapped. My son didn't sound trapped on the phone. He sounded rehearsed. Pushed. Choked by someone else's words. Thank you, I murmured. But my voice was breaking, and I had to leave before I shattered completely in front of this kind woman. I barely made it to my car before the tears started. But they weren't soft tears. They were violent. Racking. Deep sobs that came from years of motherhood being chipped away piece by piece. He was going to be a father. My boy. My Lucas. And I wasn't even allowed to know. Was I that unwanted? Had I become a burden? How did the woman I raised alone become a stranger overnight? My head dropped to the steering wheel. My chest hurt so badly I thought I might break ribs. Between sobs I whispered, You promised you'd never leave me, Lucas. You promised. But promises mean nothing once someone else starts whispering in your child's ear. I wiped my face, inhaled shaky breaths, and turned on the engine. As I pulled out of the parking garage, my phone buzzed. A text. From a number with no name saved. I opened it without thinking. It was a single sentence. If you want to know what really happened that night, meet me tomorrow at 5 p.m. Westview Medical Center parking lot. Then another message. Come alone. My hands trembled violently. Who was this? Why were they sending me photos? Why were they now asking me to meet them? And why me? Why a mother? Unless the truth I deserved to know, was something Lucas never wanted me to hear. Something someone else was willing to expose. I swallowed hard. Fear prickled my spine. But so did determination. Whatever happened that night, whatever they were hiding, whatever pushed my son away from me, I would finally learn the truth, even if it destroyed me. The night before the meeting, sleep refused to come. My body lay in bed, but my mind walked circles around every terrible possibility. Why had someone sent me that photo? Why tell me to come alone? Why did they think I deserved the truth? Every question felt like a thorn, digging deeper the more I tried to ignore it. By morning, I had barely an hour of sleep in my bones. My eyes felt raw, my chest heavy. A strange uneasiness tugged at my stomach. Something was coming. Something dark. But the fear inside me wasn't enough to stop me. Not when my son was involved. A mother will walk into any storm for her child, even when the child is pushing her away. The meeting wasn't until 5 p.m. And time moves slower when your heart is full of dread. I cleaned the kitchen, then recleaned it. then reorganized cupboards that didn't need reorganizing. I tried to eat, but the food tasted like cardboard. At 2 p.m. I took a long shower. 3 I changed my clothes twice. At 4 I stared at the clock constantly, like a prisoner waiting for a verdict. Finally, at 4:22 p.m., I grabbed my purse and left. By the time I reached Westview Medical Center, the sun was dipping low, casting long shadows across the parking lot. I parked near the entrance, the same place from the photograph. My hands were shaking so hard I had to grip the steering wheel just to steady myself. At 4:59 p.m., a figure emerged from behind a row of parked cars. A woman, tall, brown hair pulled into a tight bun, wearing scrubs. A nurse. My pulse spiked. She approached slowly, glancing over her shoulder as if making sure she hadn't been followed. When she reached my car, I stepped out, heart thudding violently. "You're Evelyn Hart?" she asked softly. I nodded. "Who are you?" She hesitated before whispering, "My name is Claire Donovan. I work in the maternity ward." Maternity. That word hit me like a punch. My breath caught, my knees weakened. Claire noticed. She placed a steady hand on my arm. "There's something you need to know," she said. "About your daughter-in-law." And that night, my throat tightened. "Please," I whispered. "Tell me." She looked around again, then spoke quietly, quickly, like someone sharing forbidden information. Marissa was brought in that night because she had a complication. Complication. A terrifying word for any expectant mother. A devastating one for a grandmother who didn't even know there was a baby. What kind of complication? I asked, struggling to breathe. Claire's eyes filled with sympathy. She was bleeding. A lot. My hand flew to my mouth. Oh God. We stabilized her. She and the baby, they're okay for now. But it was severe enough that the doctors told her something important. Claire paused. I felt my heart inching toward a cliff. They told her she needed to avoid all stress. Absolutely none. Her pregnancy is high risk. I nodded shakily, trying to make sense of it. Then Claire added, her voice dropping. And Marissa told the doctor that you were a major source of stress. The ground beneath me tilted. What? I whispered, horrified. She said your emotional pressure made her anxious. She said she didn't want you involved for the safety of the baby. My legs nearly gave out. Claire caught my arm again. I'm telling you this because I don't think it's true, she whispered urgently. She was calm when she came in. The stress wasn't you. It was something else. Something she didn't want clarified in front of Lucas. My head spun. What's something else? Claire swallowed. Her eyes grew troubled. She and Lucas weren't together when she started bleeding. I blinked. Excuse me. She came in alone, Claire said, voice strained. She said Lucas was on the way, but he didn't arrive until almost an hour later. An hour. An entire hour. My son, my sweet boy, had come running in the photograph. But before he arrived, she was alone? My heartbeat felt like thunder in my ears. She didn't call him until she was already in a wheelchair, already being taken for an emergency scan. We checked the phone records, because for high-risk patients, we must document timestamps. And, I whispered, and she didn't call Lucas. She called her mother first. Everything twisted. Nothing made sense. And worst of all, Claire continued, she claimed someone had pushed her during an argument that night. My heart stopped. What? Who pushed her? Claire's expression tightened. She wouldn't say. She just cried and said she didn't feel safe. Lucas arrived panicked, thinking something happened to him or the baby, and she let him assume whatever he wanted. I felt physically ill. She was manipulating him, Claire whispered. And it worked. My vision blurred with tears. She told the doctor the stress came from you, Claire said softly. But she arrived with mascara running down her face, shouting on the phone with someone, but it wasn't Lucas. My voice broke completely. Why are you telling me this? I whispered. Claire's eyes softened, kind, sorrowful. Because your son loves you. I saw it in the way he held her hand, the way he questioned every decision. But Marissa, she's isolating him. And she wants you completely out of the picture. I felt tears spill down my cheeks. Hot. Uncontrolled. Humiliating. She's already blaming you for everything, Claire continued gently. including the complications, including the distance between them. I shook my head, trembling. I didn't do anything, I choked out. I didn't even know she was pregnant. I know, Claire said softly. That's why I reached out. Because you deserve to know the truth. My legs finally gave out, and I sank down beside my car, sobbing into my hands. Claire crouched beside me. This is only the beginning, she said quietly. There's more. Much more. And you need to know all of it before it's too late. As Claire walked away, giving me time to breathe, my phone buzzed. A message. From Lucas. Mom, stop showing up unannounced. Marissa is upset again. Please respect our privacy. Upset again. Because I came near her building. Because someone told her. My tears blurred the words. Another message. And whatever you think you saw, whatever you think you know, stay out of it. Stay out of it. Stay out of my son's life. Stay out of my grandchild's life. Stay out of the truth. My hand shook so violently the phone nearly slipped from my fingers. I whispered into the empty parking lot. Lucas, sweetheart, what has she done to you? The wind picked up, cold and sharp, brushing against my skin like warning fingers. And deep in my chest, a terrible certainty bloomed. The truth about that night wasn't just dark. It was dangerous, and I was already entangled in it. I drove home from the hospital parking lot with the world blurring past me like wet paint smeared across a window. Cars honked. Pedestrians crossed. Lights changed. But none of it reached me. My mind was pinned to one thought only. Marissa lied. And Lucas believed her. The truth was slipping out through strangers and whispers, while my own son told me to stay out of his life. When I reached home, my hands were so numb I barely managed to lock the door. The house felt foreign, too quiet, like a place where something terrible had happened. And then my phone buzzed again. For a split second, I prayed it was Lucas apologizing. It wasn't. It was Claire. Please don't ignore this. There's one more thing you should know. My breath trembled as I typed. What thing? She replied immediately. Marissa wasn't alone when she fell. My heart slammed against my ribs. Who was with her? There was a pause. A long one. A frightening one. Then, I can't text this. Call me. My hand shook as I dialed her number. She answered instantly. Evelyn. Her voice was tense. Listen carefully. If Marissa finds out I spoke to you, I could lose my job. I won't tell anyone, I whispered. Please just tell me. There was a deep breath on the other end. Then, Marissa wasn't pushed. She fell because she fainted. My heart dropped. Fainted. I repeated. Yes. She fainted because she had been crying and hyperventilating for over an hour. I sat down slowly, gripping the edge of the chair. She said she was terrified, Claire continued. That someone would ruin her life. That someone was forcing Lucas to choose. Forcing? Me? I had barely even spoken to him. Who was she talking about? I whispered. Claire hesitated, then said the sentence that split my world in half. She was arguing with her ex. My breath stilled. Her ex. Her ex. Not her husband. Not Lucas. She had been fighting with another man in the hospital parking lot the night she nearly lost the baby. But, she told Lucas someone pushed her. That was the lie, Claire said quietly. She wanted him to think someone threatened her. Because she didn't want him to know the truth. My skin turned to ice. What truth? I whispered. The silence that followed felt suffocating. Finally, Claire said the words I feared more than anything. The baby might not be Lucas's. Everything inside me shattered. I couldn't breathe. I couldn't speak. I couldn't even think. My son, my sweet, innocent, loyal son, married a woman who might be carrying another man's child. A child she was using to trap him. A child she was using to isolate him from me. A child she was pretending was his. No, I choked out. No, Lucas would know. He doesn't, Claire said, her voice gentle but firm. She's controlling everything he hears. And he believes her because he loves her. Too much. My hand flew to my mouth as tears streamed down my face. He can't know, she continued. Because if he does, everything she built collapses. Her lifestyle. Her reputation. Her marriage. Everything. I felt sick to my stomach. And Evelyn, that night she fainted? She wasn't stressed because of you. My voice cracked. Then who? Claire hesitated again. Then she whispered. The ex threatened to tell Lucas the truth. I felt the room spin. So she lied, Claire continued. She told Lucas someone grabbed her. She said the stress came from you. She used the hospital crisis to pull Lucas away from everyone. Especially you. A sound escaped me. Not quite a sob, not quite a gasp. More like something breaking. She blamed you, Claire said softly, because you were the easiest target. The one person Lucas would feel guilty about. The one person she could use to isolate him completely. My tears fell harder. She's destroying his relationship with you, Claire whispered. Because the truth would destroy her. That evening, I sat in my living room long after the sun had set, staring at nothing. The truth churned in my mind like dark, stormy water. My son was living inside a lie. A lie built on fear, betrayal, manipulation. And a child who might not even be his. I picked up my phone, then hesitated. Should I tell him? Should I warn him? Should I rip open the lie he was living inside? But then his message from earlier replayed in my head. Stay out of it. He wouldn't believe me. Not now. Not when he was so deep inside Marissa's deception. Not when she had already painted me as the cause of all her pain. And so, I did what mothers often do. I held the truth inside me, even though it was tearing me apart. At nearly midnight, my phone finally rang. Lucas. My heart leaped painfully. I answered quickly. Lucas. His voice sounded exhausted. Mom. I'm sorry I snapped earlier. That immediate apology. That softness. It was still my boy. But something else was present too. Something heavy. Something broken. It's okay, I whispered. No, he said quietly. It's not. I shouldn't have said what I said. Everything's a mess right now. My lip trembled. Do you want to talk about it? A long pause. Then he whispered. I don't know what's true anymore. My breath caught. Lucas, what do you mean? He exhaled shakily. Marissa keeps saying she's stressed because of you. But that doesn't feel right. You haven't done anything. Tears sprang to my eyes. And today? He whispered, voice cracking. She cried for hours. She said she didn't feel safe. She said people are trying to ruin our family. She said someone's lying about her. My heart pounded. She even told me not to trust you. I covered my mouth, trying not to sob. But you're my mom, he whispered, voice breaking. I don't know who to believe anymore. That was the first crack. The first shift. The first moment my son's blind faith in Marissa began to waver. Lucas, I whispered through tears. I will never lie to you. Never. I know, he said softly. I know, Mom. I need time to think. And then the part that shattered me. I miss you. My body collapsed into silent sobs. I miss you too, I choked. I'll call you tomorrow, he whispered. I promise. Tomorrow. Promise. A tiny flame in the darkness. But what I didn't know, what I couldn't possibly know, was that tomorrow would bring something far worse. Something that would change Lucas forever. Something that would drag us all deeper into the tragedy none of us saw coming. Because the truth Marissa was hiding was about to explode. And when it did, the first real blow of heartbreak would fall. Lucas promised he would call the next day. And I clung to that promise like a drowning woman grabbing onto the last piece of floating wood. But morning came. Then afternoon. Then evening. No call. No text. No apology. Just silence. The same suffocating silence that had become the soundtrack of my life. By 7 p.m., my heart felt bruised from anticipation. By 8, I was pacing my living room. By 9, I sat on the sofa staring into the dark, rocking slightly the way mothers do when they're comforting a child. Except this time, I was comforting myself. At 9:41 p.m. my phone buzzed. Lucas. But his voice sounded broken. Mom, he whispered. I messed up. My heart clenched like a fist. What happened? I whispered. There was a shuddering breath on the other end. I found out who she was fighting with that night. My pulse stopped. Lucas, who was it? Then he spoke the name that cracked everything open. Evan. I froze. Who's Evan? I whispered. My wife's ex-fiancé. Lucas's breathing was uneven, almost shaking. He showed up today, he whispered. At our building. Did you see him? No. Marissa did. She screamed. She begged me not to talk to him. She locked herself in the bedroom for nearly an hour. His voice trembled. She said he's dangerous, that he's obsessed with her, that he's trying to ruin our marriage. But what? I urged gently. His eyes, Mom. My heart pounded. You saw him. He swallowed. I went outside after she calmed down. He was waiting near the parking garage. Mom, his eyes didn't look like a man obsessed. They looked like a man heartbroken. A cold shiver ran down my spine. What did he tell you? Lucas exhaled shakily. He told me that Marissa wasn't done with him, that she had been texting him, that she came to the hospital that night because something happened between them. My breath hitched. Lucas, did you believe him? I didn't know who to believe, he whispered. So I asked to see the messages. And a shaky breath. She deleted them. I covered my mouth. Marissa said he was lying. She screamed at him. But what? I whispered. His voice cracked. Why would he lie when he was crying? Lucas, I whispered, come over. Please. Just talk to me. I can't, he choked. She's watching me like a hawk. She's terrified I'll leave. Terrified. I repeated. He whispered something so fragile it pierced my ribs. She said the stress might kill the baby. That word, kill, struck me like a knife. Oh, Lucas, I breathed. I don't know what to do, he whispered. I don't know what's true. I feel like I'm drowning. My eyes filled with tears. You're not alone, I whispered. You have me. You always have. A tiny silence. A flicker of my boy. Then he whispered. Mom, I need to see you. My breath caught. Then come. I can't tonight. She won't let me leave. Won't let me leave. Those words weren't normal. Those words were suffocating, controlling, possessive. Before I could respond, a scream echoed through the phone. Marissa's voice. Shrill. Panicked. Lucas. Put the phone down. My entire body froze. There was a scuffle. Something crashed. Heavy breathing. Then, the line went dead. I called him back instantly. No answer. Again. Nothing. Again. Voicemail. My heart beat so violently I struggled to breathe. Something wasn't right. Something was terribly, horribly wrong. I grabbed my coat and keys and rushed out the door. I didn't care if Lucas told me not to come. I didn't care if Marissa accused me of stress. My child had screamed. My child had been frightened. That was all I needed to hear. The 20-minute drive to his condo felt endless. My breath came in sharp bursts. My hands trembled on the steering wheel. When I reached the building, the lobby lights were dim, the air too still, silent in a way that made my stomach twist. I hurried to the elevator, then to their floor. As I stepped into the hallway, I froze. Their door was open, just an inch, barely noticeable. My heart thudded violently. Lucas, I whispered, stepping closer. No response. I pushed the door open. The living room was a mess. A lamp knocked over, cushions scattered. A picture frame shattered on the floor. What happened here? I whispered. My voice shook so much it barely sounded like my own. Lucas. I called again, louder. Nothing. The air felt wrong. Heavy. Like the aftermath of something terrible. I stepped further inside, and my foot brushed something on the floor. I looked down. It was Lucas's phone. Screen cracked. Still warm. Oh God, I breathed. I picked it up with trembling hands. And as I did, something rustled behind me. I spun around. And there, standing in the hallway, eyes filled with panic, hair disheveled, breathing heavily, was Marissa. Her face streaked with tears. Her lipstick smeared. Her hands trembling. She stared at me like she was seeing a ghost. Then she whispered a sentence that chilled me to my bones. You shouldn't have come. I stumbled back a step. Where is Lucas? I demanded. Her eyes darted to the bedroom. He left. His car is downstairs, I said sharply. She froze. Her lips parted. And I knew instantly. She was lying. Marissa, I whispered, voice trembling with fear and fury. What happened? Her hands flew to her stomach. Nothing. We just argued. He left to clear his head. Why is his phone here? I said, holding it up. She stared at it, and her face went pale. I don't know. My voice hardened, low and shaking. Marissa, tell me where my son is. Tears spilled from her eyes, but they didn't feel like guilt. They felt like panic. Desperation. She stepped closer, breathing fast. Evelyn, please. You can't tell anyone what you saw. You can't tell anyone he dropped his phone. You can't tell anyone about the fight. Please, please, if this gets out. I cut her off. What happened that night at the hospital? I demanded. Her entire body stiffened. You don't understand, she whispered. If Lucas finds out, I'll lose everything. What will he find out? I asked, voice whisper soft, terrifyingly calm. She opened her mouth. But before any words could come out, someone pounded on the front door. Hard. Violent. Both of us jumped. Another pound. Louder. Marissa's face drained of color. She whispered one word. A word that made my blood run cold. Evan. The pounding on the door did not stop. It grew louder. Harder. Faster. Every hit rattled the walls, the floor, my bones. Marissa grabbed my arm, nails digging into my skin. Don't open it, she whispered, breath trembling. My own heart hammered painfully inside my chest, but not from fear of the man behind the door. From fear of what he might reveal. The truth. The truth Marissa had buried like a corpse. Another loud bang. Then a voice, deep, raw, furious. Marissa, open the damn door. My breath hitched. That voice, that rage, did not sound like a man simply wanting closure. It sounded like a man who had been pushed too far. Marissa backed away from the door, clutching her stomach with one hand and her hair with the other. He can't be here, she whispered. He can't. Her voice cracked, panic spilling out of her like water from a cracked cup. Why is he here? I whispered. What does he want from you? She shook her head frantically. He's going to ruin everything. Everything I built. Everything I planned. Another pound. Another roar of anger. Marissa, I know you're inside. And I know she's with you. She froze. I froze. Who did he mean? Who? My voice shook. Who does he mean by she? Her eyes flicked to me for a split second, and that split second told me everything. He meant me. He knew I was there. He knew who I was. But how? Before I could ask, the door burst inward an inch, the lock holding but barely. Marissa screamed. And then suddenly, silence. A heavy, terrifying silence. Then the doorknob turned slowly. The lock finally gave out with a sharp snap. The door swung open. The hallway lights cast the man's shadow across the floor first. Broad, stiff, trembling with fury. Then he stepped inside. Evan. He looked nothing like the monster Marissa described. He looked like a man broken in half. Eyes bloodshot. Face unshaven. Clothes wrinkled. Like he hadn't slept for days. His eyes locked onto Marissa first. Then, they turned to me. And something flickered in them. Recognition. Desperation. And then shockingly, sympathy. You shouldn't be involved in this, Mrs. Hart, he said quietly. My breath caught. He knew my name. How do you know who I am? I whispered. He exhaled shakily. Because she told me. Marissa let out a soft gasp. No, no, Evan, don't. But it was too late. He moved past her straight toward me, his hands raised slightly, not in threat, but in urgency. She told me everything about you, he whispered. How you raised Lucas alone. How much he loves you. How loyal he is. Every word struck me like a blow. She told me, he continued, that you were the only person who could destroy her plan. Marissa screamed. Stop it. But Evan didn't stop. He stared straight into my eyes, voice shaking. She planned this pregnancy long before Lucas. My stomach twisted violently. Marissa lunged toward him, but he stepped back easily. You tell her the truth, he demanded. Tell her the baby might not be Lucas's. Tell her why you were really at the hospital. Stop it. Marissa sobbed. I felt coldness spread through my limbs. Is it true? I whispered. Marissa, is it true? She shook her head violently, tears streaming. No, Evelyn, please, he's lying, he's trying to destroy me. Evan's voice roared over hers. You destroyed yourself. The room shook with the intensity of it. She used you, he said, looking at me. She used everyone. She lied about the stress. She lied about the pregnancy. She lied about the fall. My legs trembled beneath me. Tell her, he demanded again. Marissa sank to the floor sobbing. I didn't mean for any of this to happen, she cried. I didn't. But I saw something behind the tears. Not guilt. Fear. Fear of exposure. Fear of losing control. Fear of losing Lucas. Why? I whispered. Why lie? Why hide the pregnancy from me? Why keep Lucas away from me? Marissa choked on a sob. Because he listens to you, she whispered. He trusts you more than he trusts me. And I can't lose him. I can't. Her gaze rose to Evan. Not with hatred. With terror. He said he'd tell Lucas, she cried. He said he'd ruin me. I panicked. I fainted. I fell. Evan's face softened with pain. I wasn't going to expose you, he whispered. I only wanted closure. But you turned it into a crisis. You made her believe I threatened her. You pushed her into lying. I swallowed hard. And the baby? I whispered. Silence. Marissa shook. Evan bowed his head. And in that heavy, dreadful quiet, I already knew. The truth. The truth they were all terrified of. But I needed to hear it. Marissa, I whispered, voice fragile as glass. Is the baby Lucas's? Her answer wasn't a word. It was a sob. A collapse. Her entire body folding like a broken wing. Evan whispered, barely audible. He doesn't know. A sound escaped me. Part gasp. Part cry. All devastation. I covered my mouth. My chest tightened so painfully I thought my heart might burst. My son, my innocent son, had no idea. He was being trapped in a life built on lies. A sudden voice echoed from behind us. What the hell is going on? I turned. Lucas stood in the doorway. His face pale. Clothes wrinkled. Hair disheveled. Eyes full of horror. He must have heard everything. His gaze moved from me. To Evan. To Marissa curled on the floor. Silence. Then, Mom, he whispered. Why are you here? My lips parted. I wanted to run to him. Hold him. Tell him everything. But I couldn't move. He took a step inside. Slow, shaky. His eyes fixed on Marissa. Is it true? He whispered. Marissa covered her face. Lucas's voice cracked. Is the baby mine? Silence. His body swayed. Marissa sobbed. A broken, breathless sound. And Lucas, my sweet boy, broke. Right there. Right in front of me. He fell to his knees, hands gripping his hair, shaking violently. No, he whispered. No, no, no. His entire world crashed. In a single breath. In a single night. I took one step toward him. But Marissa lunged forward first. Lucas, please listen. I love you, I didn't mean. He flinched away from her touch like it burned him. Don't, he rasped. Don't touch me. His gaze lifted slowly. And when his eyes met mine, I saw something I had never seen in my son. Not anger. Not fear. Loss. Deep soul-breaking loss. His lips trembled. And then he whispered the words that shattered the last piece of my heart. Mom, I don't know how to survive this. I stepped forward, ready to pull him into my arms, ready to hold him like I did when he was 5 and his father died. But before I reached him, Lucas collapsed, his entire body falling forward. Unconscious. For one terrible second I thought my son was dead. The moment Lucas collapsed, the world around me shrank to a faint ringing noise. Like all sound had been sucked out of the room, leaving nothing but terror. His body fell forward so suddenly, so lifelessly, that even Evan gasped and stepped back. Lucas! I cried, my voice cracking open as I dropped to my knees beside him. His face was pale gray almost. His breathing shallow. His pulse faint. My hands shook violently as I slapped his cheeks gently. Sweetheart, wake up. Lucas, please. He didn't move. I pressed my ear to his chest. A heartbeat, yes. But faint. Uneven. Scattered. Call 911 now. I shouted. Evan ran for the phone. Marissa screamed. Not a scream of grief or fear, but a scream of sheer panic, hysteria, terror for herself. "This is my fault," she cried. "Noah, no, he can't leave, he can't. Lucas." She grabbed at him wildly, shaking him, her sobs wrenching through the room. I pushed her back sharply. "Stop. You'll hurt him." Her hands froze in the air. Her face, twisted with terror, looked like something was snapping inside her. "He can't leave me," she whispered hoarsely. "He can't." Her obsession cracked wide open. Before I could say anything, she lunged for Lucas again. A desperate, frantic move. But Evan grabbed her arms from behind, pinning her back gently but firmly. "Marissa, stop," he shouted. "He needs space, he needs air." "No, no, no, no," she wailed, kicking, thrashing. "He's mine, he's mine." Her voice didn't sound like love. Sounded like possession. Like someone who feared losing control more than losing a person. Evan held her back, struggling, panting. And I held my son's head in my lap, stroking his hair, whispering, "Please, sweetheart. Come back to me. Please." The sound of emergency sirens sliced through the hallway moments later. Paramedics rushed in. "What happened?" one asked quickly. "He collapsed," I said through tears. "His wife lied to him, he broke." I couldn't even finish the sentence. My voice cracked. They checked his pulse, lifted him onto a stretcher. "Blood pressure is crashing, pulse irregular, get oxygen." I followed them, numb, shaking, barely breathing. "Can I ride with him?" I asked. Marissa screamed from behind me, being held back by Evan. "No, I'm his wife. Not you." Her voice sliced through me. But the paramedic turned to her calmly. "You can follow the ambulance. One family member in the back only." Marissa stared at me with something dark. Dark enough to make my skin crawl. But I didn't care. My son needed me. I climbed into the ambulance, gripping Lucas's cold hand as they shut the doors. His fingers didn't respond. Not even a twitch. "Mom's here," I whispered, leaning close to him. "I'm right here. Come back to me, baby. Please." The ambulance sped into the night. They took Lucas straight into emergency triage. I wasn't allowed in. A nurse guided me to a waiting chair. But I couldn't sit. I stood in the hallway, heart pounding, fingers gripping the railing so hard my knuckles turned white. After nearly 20 minutes, a doctor approached. My breath stopped. "Is he alive?" I asked instantly. The doctor nodded gently. Relief washed through me so intensely my knees buckled. I grabbed the wall behind me to keep from collapsing. "He's alive," the doctor confirmed. "But he's under severe emotional and physiological stress. His collapse wasn't from a physical condition. It was psychological trauma." I covered my face with one hand. Trauma. Trauma caused by lies. Trauma caused by betrayal. Trauma caused by the woman who claimed to love him. The doctor continued gently. "His system went into shock. His heart rate spiked, then plummeted. We stabilized him, but he's fragile. Fragile. My son. Always so strong. Reduced to fragile. When can I see him?" I whispered. "Soon," the doctor said softly. "He's asking for you." My chest cracked again. He asked for me. After weeks of silence. After being pushed away. After being told to let go. He asked for me. When I entered his room, the lights were dim. Machines beeped softly. The air smelled like antiseptic and fear. And there he was. My boy. Lying so still it hurt to look at him. His eyes flickered open. "Mom," he whispered. I rushed to his side, cupping his face gently. "I'm here," I breathed. "I'm here, sweetheart." Tears filled his eyes. The tears he had held back for too long. "I'm so sorry," he whispered. "I should have listened. I should have known. I'm so stupid." "No," I murmured, brushing his hair back. "No, Lucas. You were in love. You trusted. That isn't stupid. It's human." He broke then. His lips quivered, his chest shook, and tears streamed down his cheeks. "She lied to me," he choked. "She lied about everything." I held his hand tightly. "I know," I whispered. "I know, sweetheart. I was going to be a father," he sobbed. I thought this was my family. I thought." His voice broke again. You still are a father, I whispered. Just not in the way you thought. But I loved that baby, he cried. That sentence crushed me. My son, my sweet gentle boy, had already given his heart to a child that might not be his. And it shattered him. His tears soaked the pillow. His hand tightened around mine. And in that moment, I felt the deep, ancient instinct of motherhood rise inside me, to protect him from everything and everyone that had ever hurt him. The door burst open. Both Lucas and I flinched. Marissa stood there. Eyes wild, mascara smeared, breath unstable. 2 security guards held her arms. Let me go, she screamed. I need to see my husband. Lucas shrank back into his pillow. Lucas, she sobbed. Please, I'm sorry, I wasn't thinking. I love you, I need you. Her voice was frantic, unhinged, desperate in a way that felt dangerous. The head nurse stepped forward. Ma'am, you need to calm down. Calm down. Marissa shrieked. He's my husband. She's taking him from me. This is her fault. Her finger pointed at me. Her voice cracked into pure venom. She's poisoning you. She's always hated me. Lucas whispered weakly. Marissa, stop. She screamed again, trying to break free of the guards. Lucas, please. It's our baby, our baby. Lucas's voice cracked. Is it mine? Silence. Marissa froze. Her face collapsed. I love you, she whispered, voice trembling. Isn't that enough? No, Lucas said, tears filling his eyes. It's not. Her knees buckled as the guards pulled her back. But she didn't scream this time. She whispered something so cold, so terrifyingly soft, that every hair on my body stood on end. If I can't have you, no one will. The guards dragged her out. Lucas trembled violently. I held him tighter. Mom, he whispered, voice full of fear. Yes, sweetheart. He closed his eyes. What if she tries to hurt me? My heart turned to ice, because I already feared the same thing. And I knew, deep in my bones, that we hadn't seen the worst yet. Not even close. The tragedy hadn't fully bloomed, but it was coming. And it would tear our family apart in a way none of us were ready for. Lucas slept for only short moments that night. When he did, it wasn't restful. His body jerked with every memory that replayed behind his eyelids. Every lie, every betrayal, every scream. I sat beside him in the dim hospital room, holding his hand as machines beeped around us. The quiet felt fragile, like one wrong breath could shatter it. At 2:14 a.m. he stirred. Mom? He whispered, voice weak. I'm here, I murmured, squeezing his hand. He slowly turned his head toward me. His eyes swollen, haunted, exhausted. Don't leave me, he whispered. The words broke something in me that had already been cracked 1,000 times. Never, I said. I'm not going anywhere. A painful silence settled between us, thick with everything neither of us knew how to say. He finally whispered. I feel like a fool. I shook my head, brushing his hair back. You loved, I said softly. You trusted. That isn't foolish, it's pure. His lips trembled. I thought I was going to be a dad, he whispered. I'd already pictured everything, holding the baby, reading stories, doing better than my own father. His voice broke. I wanted to be better, he sobbed. I always wanted to be better. I leaned closer, pressing my forehead to his. And you are, I whispered. You're better than you know. Better than he ever was. He cried quietly. Not the loud, broken sobs of earlier, but a deep, silent grief. The kind that sinks into your bones. At 3:07 a.m. the door creaked open. I stiffened, fear shooting through me. But it wasn't Marissa. It was Evan. He stepped in cautiously, hands raised as if to show he meant no harm. I'm sorry, he whispered to me first. I shouldn't be here this late. But I needed to know if he was okay. Lucas looked up weakly. You, he whispered. Evan nodded slowly. Yeah, me. For a long moment there was only silence. Heavy, bitter, uneasy. Then Evan took a small step forward. I didn't come to fight, he said quietly. Or to defend myself. I came to tell the truth. Lucas swallowed hard. Why? He rasped. Why now? Evan's voice shook. Because I cared about her too, he said. And I couldn't watch her destroy you just to protect herself. Lucas looked away, pain rippling across his face. Why did she lie to me? He whispered. Evan sighed. A deep, tired, regretful sigh. Because she wanted a life she couldn't have with me. My family didn't approve of her. They cut her off financially. She thought being with me would trap her. But being with you. His eyes softened. You're kind. And safe. And stable. And she knew your mother raised you to be loyal. She knew you'd stay no matter what. My breath caught. It was true. I had raised Lucas to be loyal. Too loyal. Evan stepped closer. But when she got pregnant, she panicked. Lucas flinched at the word. I didn't know, Evan whispered. Not for sure. She wouldn't tell me anything. And when I tried to confront her at the hospital, she fainted before I got any answers. Lucas covered his face with trembling hands. I loved her, he whispered. Evan nodded sadly. I know. I did too. That's why this hurts both of us. His voice cracked. We both gave our hearts to a woman who didn't know what to do with them. Silence again. Heavy. Painful. Filled with two men grieving the same woman. One her husband. One her past. It was grief layered with betrayal. And it was devastating. Evan took a step back. I'll leave now, he whispered. I don't want to make things worse. But before he turned away, Lucas said something so soft I almost didn't hear it. Evan. Evan paused. Lucas looked up slowly, tears shining in his eyes. Thank you, he whispered. For telling me the truth. For the first time, relief flickered across Evan's face. He nodded once, then slipped quietly out of the room. And for a moment, I thought maybe the worst was over. But life has a cruel way of giving hope. Right before it takes everything away. At 4:22 a.m., just as Lucas had drifted into a fragile sleep, a nurse knocked lightly and stepped inside. Mrs. Hart, she whispered. Could I speak with you outside? My stomach tightened. Something was wrong. I followed her into the hallway. Her voice was low, cautious. Hospital security called. They said, Marissa is on the premises. A cold shock ran through my body. What? I whispered. The nurse nodded, glancing nervously toward Lucas's door. She entered through the east wing. They found her wandering the hallway near the maternity ward. She wasn't supposed to be here. My heart hammered. Is she okay? I whispered. The nurse hesitated. She was screaming, crying, talking to herself. Security is trying to calm her down, but she keeps asking for Lucas. A chill ran down my spine. And she keeps repeating, the nurse whispered. If I can't have him, no one can. My blood froze. No one can. Those words again. Those terrifying words. I grabbed the nurse's arm. Where is she now? They have her seated in the East Wing waiting room with 2 security officers, she said. They're deciding whether to restrain her or call psychiatric support. I swallowed hard. Does Lucas know? No, she said quickly. We didn't want to upset him further. I nodded, trying to breathe through the wave of dread rising in my chest. Can I talk to her? I whispered. The nurse's eyes widened. It's not safe. She blames you for everything. I know, I murmured. But I need to. Because I had a terrible gut-wrenching instinct. The kind only mothers possess. If someone didn't de-escalate Marissa's spiral, she was going to hurt someone. And that someone might be my son. The nurse exhaled shakily. Okay, she whispered. But security will be right there. I nodded. Then I began the long walk toward the East Wing. Every step filled with dread. Every breath tight. Every heartbeat heavy. And as I walked, I didn't know I was heading toward the moment that would shatter me forever. The moment that would lead directly to the tragic ending of our story. The hallway to the East Wing felt impossibly long. Each step echoing like a countdown to something I didn't yet understand, but feared with every beat of my heart. My hands trembled as I turned the final corner. 2 hospital security officers stood beside the waiting room door. One of them recognized me. Mrs. Hart, are you sure you want to do this? I nodded. Not because I was brave, but because I couldn't live with myself if something happened to Lucas because I didn't try. They let me through. I stepped inside. And there she was. Marissa sat hunched forward, elbows on her knees, hands tangled in her hair. She rocked slowly, like someone trying to quiet voices only she could hear. Her mascara streaked down her cheeks. Her lips quivered. Her breath shuddered with every inhale. She didn't notice me at first. Not until she lifted her head. And her eyes locked onto mine. Her face twisted. Grief, hatred, desperation, fear. All colliding in one impossible expression. "You," she whispered, voice cracking. I swallowed the lump in my throat. "Marissa," I said calmly, "we need to talk." Her breathing grew sharper. "It's your fault," she whispered. "Everything is your fault." I said nothing. Her voice rose, shaking, broken. "He loved me. He loved me until you came between us." My heart squeezed painfully. "Marissa, he loved you long before I ever knew you. I didn't take anything from you." "Yes, you did," she screamed. "You made him doubt me. You made him question everything. You made him see what I was running from." Her body trembled violently. "I was trying to fix my life," she sobbed. "I was trying to build something perfect, something stable. And you ruined it." My voice wavered. "I didn't want to ruin anything," I whispered. "I just wanted my son safe." Her eyes went dark. So dark my skin prickled. "Safe from me," she spat. "Safe from the woman carrying his child?" My throat tightened. "Marissa, that child." "Don't say it," she shrieked, hands over her ears. "Don't you dare say it." Security stepped in, but she jerked away sharply. "No. Let me speak." She pointed at me, sobbing, trembling. "You think he'll forgive me? You think he'll ever look at me with love again? You took that from me." I took a shaky step closer. "Marissa, look at me. Please. You need help. Let us help you." She shook her head violently. "I only ever wanted him," she whispered. "And now he's going to leave. And all of this pain, all of this hell, is because of you." My breath hitched. She rose slowly to her feet. Security tensed. "Marissa," I whispered, "don't do this." She took one trembling step toward me. Then another. Her eyes were wild, unfocused. "If you hadn't interfered, none of this would have happened. He would have stayed. He would have been mine." I opened my mouth, but the words never formed. Because in the next second, Marissa screamed, "You took my life from me." And she ran. Not toward me. Not at me. Past me. Toward the corridor. Toward Lucas. Toward the room where my son lay fragile, broken, helpless. "Stop her," I screamed. Security sprinted. I ran. My legs shaking. My chest burning. My breath coming in jagged, desperate bursts. Marissa sprinted ahead of all of us, crying out Lucas's name, her voice cracking. "Lucas, please, let me explain." "No, no, no, no," I gasped, pushing myself faster. I saw the door to his room, saw her reaching for it, saw everything happening too fast. "Marissa, don't," I screamed. She flung the door open. Lucas lifted his head weakly from the bed, eyes widening in fear. "Marissa." She lunged toward him. Security grabbed her shoulders. She fought, wild, frantic, screaming his name. "Let me go. I need him. I need him." Lucas's heart monitor beeped faster. "Marissa, please stop," he gasped. She twisted violently, trying to break free. Her arm brushed the four-stand, toppled with a crash. Lucas flinched in pain. The machines beeped erratically. In the chaos, one security guard slipped, and his knee hit the bed's control panel. The bed jolted. Lucas cried out in pain. And suddenly, the heart monitor spiked wildly. "No!" I screamed. Nurses rushed. Security wrestled Marissa out of the room. And in the middle of all of it, my son's body convulsed with fear. His breathing hitched, then stopped. The machine made a sound I will never forget. A terrifying, endless flatline. My knees gave out. "Lucas!" I shrieked, crawling toward him. Doctors stormed the room. Code blue. "Get her out." "No, no. Let me stay with my son," I cried, clutching his hand. They tried to pull me back. I fought them, screaming his name. Screaming the name I'd whispered since he was a baby. The name that belonged to my whole world. "Lucas, sweetheart, mom's here, please stay." But his hand was limp. His eyes half open. Empty. The longest seconds of my life ticked by as doctors fought to bring him back. Compressions, injections, frantic commands. I prayed harder than I ever had. What's happening? I choked out. The doctor didn't answer. Because we all knew. We all felt it. The moment life leaves the room is colder than death itself. When the doctor finally turned to me, I knew. Before he said a word. Before any sound left his lips. I knew. His eyes were full of sorrow. Deep, heavy sorrow. And then the sentence that ended everything. I'm so sorry, Mrs. Hart, we couldn't save him. Something inside me tore open. A sound escaped me. That wasn't human. A sound made from pain so deep. It could only come from a mother losing her child. No, 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 Lucas. I collapsed over him, sobbing into his chest, holding his lifeless hand against my cheek, begging him to wake up, begging him to breathe, begging him to come back to me. But he didn't. He never would again. Marissa wasn't allowed near him. Security restrained her as she screamed his name, screamed until her voice cracked, screamed until they had no choice but to sedate her. Her cries echoed down the hallway long after she was gone. Evan stood outside the room, tears running down his face, whispering, "Oh God, Lucas, oh God." But I didn't see him. I didn't see anyone. I only saw the boy I raised, the boy I held at birth, the boy I fed and bathed and loved, the boy who promised he'd never leave me, lying lifeless on a cold hospital bed. My world ended that night. Not with noise, not with violence, but with silence. A silence so final. It swallowed every piece of me. People say mothers move on. They say time heals. They say grief softens. But they don't understand. When a mother loses her child, she doesn't heal. She learns to breathe around the pain. She learns to walk with a broken spine. She learns to live in a world that no longer holds the person she loved more than herself. I lost my son because of lies and manipulation and a love that turned into obsession. I lost my son because he loved too deeply. And now, every day, every second, every breath, I relive the moment he whispered, "Mom, don't leave me." Because in the end, he didn't leave me. The world did. And all I have now is the echo of his voice and the memory of the night. My heart stopped beating with his.